Good morning. We're going to hang tight for a few minutes. Make sure I have the comments up. I set this here. All right, guys, we're going to start in just a couple of minutes. Looks like it's about 10 o'clock, everybody. Good morning to all of you. It's Stephanie Saturday, my favorite day. So just wanted to say, let's start with good morning again. I just chuckled, you guys, because I have the thing set on my computer now because I get so like deep in thought or deep in projects and I lose track of time. So now I set my computer to tell me it is whatever, the top of the hour. And so in my ear, he just said, it is 10 a.m. So it's kind of cute. Although I think I have it messed up and it is telling me it's 10 a.m. on the half hour, but we're still working on that. So anyhow, again, good morning. Welcome to Stephanie Saturday. Today, we're going to talk about, follow up and the grant research, kind of how we find some grants. And we're going to do a little bit of recap. I know that, I believe it was our very first time we met. I shared out a packet that had tons of links. If you did not get that, if you did get it, can't find it, whatever, let us know. Because I have that still and we can share that out with all of you. Today's slides, you guys, has, I don't know, like 9 or 10 really good, meaty links that you're going to want as you look for grants. So please, please, please let Morgan know and we'll get you this packet over. The links are live. So if you go ahead and get the slides, you can just go directly to them versus like a copy and paste kind of thing. So I think that'll be helpful. So again, thank you to Square One Small Business Services for having us be a part of this. I look forward to Saturdays more than any of you ever know. For one, Morgan and I have the best conversations. And then, I have made so many great friends over this process, I just absolutely love it. And, we get to do some really fun stuff together and kind of serve. So there's that. So this week we're going to talk about the scheduling piece of kind of when you get a grant. Thank you, Morgan. But we're going to talk about that scheduling piece and calendaring out the due dates. As you do your grant research, we want to make sure that we're calendaring out so that we know what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to get to the end, find a great grant and then lose sight of that and then miss out on a huge opportunity. And then we're also going to go over some of the resources that we have available to find some of these grants, just kind of how we look for them and find them. As always, I will remind you that We want you to let us know how we're doing. Fill out the survey at the end. That's what helps us as Square One small businesses keep grants, right? That keeps our funding. Good morning, Vicki. Um, so that's really important. We want to make sure we keep the funding. So again, you'll see the link in the comments, and we'll pop it up a couple of times. So do make sure that you fill out the survey for us. It'll be really important. So, please excuse that my accountant type and the BOA and WF, the Bank of America and Wells Fargo, both have really good resources for grants that we're going to talk about today. So we'll start with just scheduling. It's funny. It's a pretty simple concept, but so often overlooked. And so I want you to think about when you send out your grant application, schedule a follow-up on your calendar. Make sure that you're like, hey, they said that all grant applications had to be in by May 31st. So I'm going to send a follow-up June 15th or June 30, whatever. And I go with my gut on that. I don't usually let it go past a month, but it's always nice to have that follow-up. And it lets them know that, A, you know what you're doing, and you hear us say that all the time. So we do want to make sure they know we know what we're doing, but also that we care. We're not just blindly out there asking for, 40 different grants and, seeing what sticks. No, we're being intentional with our actions, and, we're going to be good stewards of their money. So that's going to be a really important piece. For grants we have received, the scheduling part is really, really important because I want you to pay attention to any compliance dates. If you received a $10,000 grant and you have you have to give them your mid-year financials by July 15th, or we'll say July 31st because that's more realistic, then put that on your calendar and then set that reminder for, week, 2 weeks out, because what we want to do is we don't want you to miss a compliance time because, you don't want to mess up your current grant, but you also don't want to mess up the grant opportunities you have going forward with that funder, right? That's a big deal. There's so many opportunities to continue forward that we want to make sure that we keep leveraging that. I also want you to pay attention to the compliance material needed. Maybe they don't need financials. Maybe they want a narrative, an update for what's gone well, where you have room for improvement, what you've accomplished, what's left in the project. It's who knows? I mean, I've seen it all over the board for their requests. So we do want to make sure that we pay really good attention to that. Just like we said in the beginning, when I said proofread, make sure you do fill it out correctly on the application. Same principle here. Proofread. Let's make sure we give them what they ask for. Don't shortchange it because, again, we want them to think that and know that we know what we're doing and we're good stewards of their money. It's all you've heard me say it a dozen times at least, and you'll hear me say it a dozen more probably. That's the important part as far as that funding piece. And then, you guys, Morgan and I actually had just talked about the PPP tracker earlier. I'm rabbit trailing, I know. But so whatever tracking mechanism you're using, your supporting schedule we've talked about before, keep that up to date. That way you can jump in easily and comply with any scheduling. Sometimes we get busy, life happens, whatever. So if we stay proactive through the process and using those funds, then even if we lose sight of the dates, life happens, right? Something happens and, you're a week behind what you thought. So now we have 2 days to get it put together. If you're proactive throughout the process, then that just makes it that much easier to put it together. I hope that makes sense. I'm a huge fan of just, do it as it comes and making sure that we stay current on things. And this is one area that you'll hear me say it till I'm blue in the face, that we've got to be proactive. We want to stay ahead of that so that we can, again, be good stewards of their money, and show that we know what we're doing. If we're doing it at the last minute, if we table it, and then, oh gosh, we have 2 days before we have to turn in this compliance packet, you are likely going to miss something. I mean, that's reality, right? Anytime we rush, we have a greater margin of error. That's not what we want in this space. We want to make sure that we have it all together, buttoned up, big red bow, like, here you go. We know what we're doing. We did this, we did what we set out to do. That will be very, very important. I will toggle on that one and remind you guys that as you use up the grant funds, when you're done, remember to send that narrative and that thank you again with, here's what we got to accomplish because of your generous support. Be sure, good manners. I mean, I always tell people manners are free. So good manners, that's going to be really important. So we're going to take that and kind of piggyback with the calendar piece. So our scheduling piece is all about the monies we've received so far and how we're going to utilize that. Now we're going to calendar, we're going to kind of layer it in for what is coming. For the grants that have due dates, that grants we want to go after, and they have a June 30 due date or a July 31 due date. You never know. I mean, it depends on the grant. I've seen them all over the place. A lot of them are year end or like a January 5th, but that's probably the most common. That year end is the most common we see, but there's a ton based on if it's a foundation, just a charitable foundation, a family foundation, based on their fiscal year. So there's a lot of, it's really whatever the funder wants, right? So you have a lot of different variances there. So it's really important, it's not like across the board, everybody's December 31st. For one, that would be miserable. For everybody trying to get through them. But so do make sure that you're scheduling it on, put that on your calendar. Hey, this is due this day. I am a control freak. We all know this. I love to plan. I'm the list maker so that I can mark stuff off. So when you do this, it is not a bad thing to calendar out your steps. Sometimes with grants, you send in a letter of intent first. So calendar that. Calendar when you should have the application done by. Calendar when you should have your packet ready. When you calendar through that, I want you to calendar in a day of just review. Maybe it's 2 days before it's due, whatever, but calendar in just a review day. And what I want you to do with that is set everything else aside, shut down your phone, Facebook, all of that, set it aside, and I want you to go into it and read it out loud, word for word, make sure that it makes sense. But I want you to go through that as if you are a complete stranger. If that's hard for you, have somebody help you. Have somebody else come in as the complete stranger and do it. And what's going to happen is you're going to find those little blips with what makes sense in your head, because we all do it. You're typing, writing, it makes sense in your head, but somebody who has no idea what you're doing, somebody who doesn't know your business, doesn't know your plan or goal, may not follow it. So have somebody help you with that, if you can't just step away. It says, hi, Stephanie, Zamora Schilling. Yes, do that. Let's have help. Reach out. We have resources for you guys. That's really important. And then I want you to, I always allow for cushion in my process. My grant, say our grant is due June 30. I'm going to calendar it that it's due by the 26th. I do that because, let's face it, it happens to all of us. Life happens. Life happens, right? I mean, COVID happened for so many people. Stuff happens. So it's really easy to lose sight of something like that. So I want to make sure that you build that cushion in. I know it sounds stupid simple, you guys. You're like, why is she telling us this? But it matters. It really does. A great example is whenever I had a chapter due in a book for an author that I'm working with, and I had to turn my chapter in, and I built in a 2-week cushion. So I was like, you just don't know, whatever. And I'm so glad I did, because by building that in, then when my fiance had to have surgery and everything else, I wasn't behind. It wasn't, oh gosh, now I have to figure out how I'm going to take care of him, do my job, and write this. No, I had it spaced out. I built that cushion in. And so that's why I tell you, it's just really important. I mean, kids get sick, things happen. So just make sure that you build it a little cushion for yourself. Maybe you're only comfortable building in a couple of days. Fine. You will thank me for it later. I tell my kids that all the time. Like, just do what I say now, because you'll thank me for it later. But it does matter. Schedule it a little bit ahead and give yourself that time for that cushion piece. Did anybody think I could possibly talk for 15 minutes about calendaring? That's hysterical. So now we're going to talk about one of my favorite parts of it, and that's the research piece. A great place to start, and you hear people talk about your ideal client, or, and we've talked about, what are you trying to accomplish? Where are you trying to go? What are your needs? So I want you to think about that again. We're going back to that same place, that what are your needs? Are you needing operational funds, just to keep the doors open because this pandemic has kicked your behind? Are you needing project funds? Like, hey, I want a storefront, I want a brick and mortar, I have a project. Or are you expanding, where you have a new business line, that maybe you're going to, I'm not sure what you do, Vicki. Good morning. But one of the things I would say is that, say that you're releasing a new, I want to release a course. I want to make a new course. I'm going to release it. And I need funds to do that. So there's your expansionary funds. Everything has a purpose. So we need to really isolate those purposes, right? If that makes sense. And I so love Saturday mornings to get spent with the Stephs. So think about that, because we're going to research a little differently for operational funds than we would for project funds, and or expanding our line of business. So I definitely want to make sure that we are honed in on what our purpose is for these funds first. Because if it's a project, who are we serving? How are we serving them? What are we delivering with it? If it's operation funds, who's our main client base? Expansionary funds, how are we expanding? What have we done so far? Where are we going to go with it? So, it kind of, they have different purpose. So we want to make sure that we go down that. Vicki, this is perfect. You guys, Vicki's the president of the Raytown Chamber, and their building foundation unveiled a capital campaign to raise funds to remodel a building. Perfect. Right there. That is a project. They're expanding. They want to remodel their building. That's a project. That's a very specific purpose. So when we search funds, we're going to go very specifically with that. That's a really great one, Vicki. And one of the things that I did years ago when I was in Pleasant Hill, that's where I grew up, is we raised, I was on the park board, and we raised money to build a concession stand and create these soccer fields and baseball fields. And in doing that, what we did is I searched it out. Back then it was the phone book. I know I'm dating myself, but I went through every business I could find that it was directly or indirectly impacted by the citizens of that town. I put them in a list in a database, and then I started pounding the pavement, like, let's partner, let's find this. So there's, I want you to think big, and we'll get to that towards the end, but don't limit yourself on just, oh, this is what we've always done, or this is what I think I know. Let's get in there. Let's do our research, right? It's going to be really important. So we're going to talk about some of these great links I have for you guys. Again, please, please, please get this slide packet today. My favorite one, start with Google. Ours in our house, it's a girl, but go to your search and just type in, I need, we're looking for, and for a campaign to raise funds, for like the chamber, that could be individual donors or what have you. But for grant funds, go to that search and say, operational grants for food trucks. Then if you get this huge listing, operational grants for food trucks in Missouri or Kansas, keep going at that. It's so funny. I've learned to ask questions in such a different way thanks to Google. I still ask it in complete sentences, though. I haven't caved to that yet, and my friends and family make fun of me when I'm sharing a screen. I'm going to put a pin in that. Make sure that you email mperry@mymcpl.org for these slides, you guys. But the Google search is going to be one of your favorite resources. It's super helpful. It's amazing. And, I think there was a State Farm commercial 100 years ago that said because it's on the internet, it's got to be true. And so that's what I always tell my kids. But I'm like, my answer for everything, did you Google it? And if you did and you didn't get your answer, rephrase it. So that, say that we're going to look for building remodel grants. There's something out there, I promise. And so we have to, I know, again, you're like, you're stating the obvious, but go to the Google and look, you will be shocked what's going to come up. Again, I will tell you, be leery of anything that wants you to pay up front. Unless it's like, I think like the Amber grant has one where it's like $15, but it's a monthly recurring grant. So, again, be cautious of that. My second favorite way to go, and I share this with virtually everyone, this Bank of America link, you guys, right here on the screen. So if you have a family foundation or, a family trust, and you have said in that you're going to donate or grant out, I don't know, some of them it's $100,000 a year, it just depends. But so they have a specific amount that they give out each year as part of their foundation or trust. They can opt in to be listed in the database. And this is a completely searchable database. And they can opt in to see that and to go to it. So what happens then is when you go to this, you can search by state. You can search by purpose. If it's, so one of the ladies I met through this group, they do like theater in the urban core. So, if we say that we are reaching, it's youth and education or arts, you can search. Don't be afraid to use your target client or your target customer and search by that. This is where you have to really think outside the box, because it's not, I want a new food truck. It's not like that simplistic, as we have to think holistically on that. So, but this BOA site, you guys, when I tell you I go to it at least every other week, that is not an exaggeration. I am forever pointing people to it. It's easy to register. You just put in your basic, your contact information, and then most of these you can apply for right there online, and they'll give you their due dates. It's so nice to have that all in one place. A lot of them will even tell you who the funder is, but they'll go by state. You can look, some of them only want to serve maybe Illinois or Iowa or whatever. So you have that flexibility to be able to really streamline that and hone it in. Some of them, they're national. They don't. It doesn't matter to them. I love the BOA site. I'm going to show you others, but the BOA one is probably the most comprehensive list that I've seen so far, but it's largely in part, though, I'm sure, because they're everywhere, right? That makes a difference. I don't know that Commerce Bank has it, like here locally. UMB Bank does not. They used to. Let me rephrase that. It's not searchable anymore. They did it one time. But so, even your local regional banks may have this, but definitely our national banks like BOA. We'll get to a couple of the others, but they definitely have that out there. The other two, Wells Fargo and Chase. Wells Fargo is a little different in that I've recently found this. So used to be it was a searchable database that I would go to for them, but they have expanded so much with their programs that they're doing what, largely what we're trying to accomplish with Square One Small Business. They're a good piggyback with that. So they do have loan programs, obviously, for small business, which is really interesting. But they're a CDFI, which is like a community development financial institution. I believe is what the acronym stands for. But they have so many grants, and they have. I do love searchable databases. It just makes me happy. But they have their foundational group, but they have so many other grants too, you guys. They have, if you're like new business and, expanding your business, there's so many really great things on this site. I could spend all morning on it. It's not it's vastly different than what we see on the BOA site and that searchable piece, but it's so good. It's got so many nuggets that are just super powerful and useful for you. Please check it out. If you only click on two links, I would say BOA and Wells Fargo. I would love you to click on all of them because I think they're really good. And then I also will share out that 25 tips and tricks. No, the first one we did with all the links. We can share that back out, and I'll resend it to Morgan so she doesn't have to dig for it. But it's, you guys, such good information. This Wells Fargo they're just doing really great things. And what I love most about it, you're not hearing it. The reason you're not hearing it is they're not doing it for that publicity. They're doing it because it's the right thing. That gets me. So Chase, JP Morgan, also, you'll see they have their private banking foundations. Same thing. It's very similar to the BOA. It'll be, a searchable database. And it's got a really, user-friendly application process as well. You can do it all right there. You'll be able to see due dates. You'll see, and they'll put it in there if there's like specific compliance. And these that we're speaking of, the BOA and the Chase for that private foundation part, there's not generally specific compliance. It's, generally it's open, and it's pretty open for what those funds are used for. So that's where you do want to, that follow-up piece we've talked about and sending that thank you, that's where that's going to get you more power and to leverage opportunities later with that same funder. is when you follow up and they didn't require it, and you give them the, here's what we did, again, thank you for your generous support, here's what we were able to accomplish, that makes that connection. So then as they go through their next round of funding the next year, you're going to get, hey, why don't you apply again? So that builds that relationship. So these are some of the other ones we've talked about before, but I really wanted to bring them back up because these are specifically for small business, and that's what we're here for, right? We're all small business owners, So this business owner side, what is it? Businessownersideacafe.com. Great resource, not only just for their grants, you guys, but they have so many great resources out there for us. I do like this one too. Okay, maybe I would want you to click on all of them. And maybe I lied. But do check it out because it's a really, really great resource. They have, like I said, a lot of great, just really great information out there and tools and tips available for us all. The chamberofcommerce.org. Okay. First and foremost, Vicki, you want this one. So the chamber is your resource. Your local chamber is your resource. You want to build a relationship with them just from good business. But this chamberofcommerce.org, there are so many really great grants available. And that's what they set money aside for because that's their purpose, right? So, they have that availability. They have it out there. Don't be afraid to go after it. I'm a big fan of being active in your community and being active, with your chamber and stuff. Get to know people, that those relationships matter, especially in small business. I'd like to think when we all take over the world together, that we'll still think that relationships matter. I can't imagine any of the people I've met through here being like, oh, you're just a number. I just don't see it. So this is another really great one for you guys to go after. The galaxyofthestars.org, that one, it's a great grant. It's not as well known, but I would definitely check it out, you guys. Like I said, there's a lot of them. The globalacn.org for my women-owned small businesses. I was on my little spill this morning with poor Morgan. That there's women are less likely to be entrepreneurs. The studies show it, and women, actually married women, are more likely than single women, but women are less likely to be entrepreneurs, and I would love to see that change. But we all have stuff. So this is a really great one for. I personally, in my industry, have had struggled because I'm fairly young. I'm not young yet, but I, comparatively speaking, in a lot of conferences and stuff, I'm young, and I'm a woman, and I'm social. So those three, I like to talk to people. So those three things were really hard. Like, it took me a minute to get my traction and stuff because generally people are looking for, when you say you're an accountant, they are generally like, oh, so you're an old dude, well, no, I'm not. And on the phone, sometimes I do sound like I'm 12. And so that, that can be misleading. So this is a really good one. This one obviously has my heart as a woman entrepreneur. We're going to put a pin in that one too. And I say that because I know we've talked about it before, but if you're a veteran entrepreneur, grants are available. When you do your Google search, I want you to search grants available for veteran entrepreneurs. Sounds basic, you'll be shocked. If you're a female veteran, search it. You will be blown away. If you are a minority-owned business, search that. Grants for minority-owned business. I want you to think We've got to get out of our normal, like, everyday thinking. I want you to think about that as, again, as a whole, that big picture, because that matters. That message matters. And that it will serve you well when you think through that. I'll be honest, most of the people that I've met through this group are women-owned businesses. Search that. I mean it. I really do. It's really important that you'll be shocked when you see what's out there. I know we've talked before. I'll go back to my slide. Sorry, guys. We'll talk about the FedEx. FedEx has a lot of really cool small business grants. What I have not seen yet, though, is any from UPS. Doesn't mean they don't exist. They may be a little harder for us to find. But generally, when one large company like that does grants, you will generally find their biggest competitor doing the same. Magic Johnson said that Larry Bird made him better because he was his competition. And, my fiance is always saying, if you want to be better, find a competitor. Because that challenges you, right, to go one for one. So by my all of that to say, my point is, you have the FedEx link. I challenge you to find UPS. I say, put money on it, and I'm not a betting woman, but I would put money on it that they have one, that there's something out there. We just have to look a little deeper to find it. But rarely does one big chain like that do something and their competition not. I mean, look at the BOA, Wells Fargo, Chase, same thing for them. So, sorry. Dang it, I did it again. Sorry. So let's talk about searching for governmental grants. You can search for them. This website can be, talk about a huge database. This website can be really, really, really overwhelming. But you can go to grants.gov and you can enter your search criteria. What I have found is that it takes time on this one, you guys. It's a lot of trial and error, but there's a lot available and there's a lot out there. Now, some of it is very specific. Some of it is like for engineering or earth science, so some of it will be like insanely specific. But if you were to go and type in, let's think, veteran services, or maybe you have an assisted living facility, you could type that in. This one, like I said, will be a lot of trial and error, so you'll have to change that verbiage quite a bit, that the text you're typing in. But it is a really good resource. It will take patience. That's the one thing I will tell you on this particular one, is it's going to take patience. I say that because I am not the most patient human being. I know you may be shocked, but I am not. And so sometimes I do get frustrated with that one in particular. So while I give you guys these resources, I want to be very open and candid, for any of the limitations I've experienced or anything, because I don't want you to get discouraged. And I don't want you to be like, why did she give us this when this is horrible, or whatever. So I always want to be open and honest with you. So again, great resource, tons out there on it, stuff that I never knew existed on it, but it can be discouraging. When I tell you it can be overwhelming, and I live in spreadsheets every day, you guys, it can be very overwhelming. It's a lot, but I mean, it's a governmental grant database. Of course it's going to be a lot, right? But don't get discouraged. Don't feel bad when you have to keep going back and forth. Like, hey, you had to rephrase the same thing 7 times. Sometimes I have to do that when I ask my Google stuff. Good morning, Stacy. So that's always really. I want to be clear with you guys that can be kind of a pain, But is it worth it? Absolutely. Oh my gosh, yes. There's probably another see another 25 links on the packet that we'll send back out. If you guys get this, we'll piggyback it with that. And it's from our first week. There's a ton out there. And what I can't say enough is the importance of just using Google. I'm telling you, if I'd have had Google as a kid, I would be like living in space by now or something, because there's so much at our fingertips thanks to technology that I would have drove my mom nuts. Because I was always in the library, reading and researching anyways. I would have drove her absolutely crazy. So use this. I mean, we have so much at our disposal. Let's use it. I know the library has grant database too. Make sure that we have all these resources available, you guys. If you have questions, ask them. There are no stupid questions. I know that our teachers used to say that when we were kids. I swear by that. There are no stupid questions. I am going to pause before we start talking about the next step. Does anybody have any questions for me? Maybe, sorry, anything that you want to know about, or if there's one of the links that you have a question about, and I could try. I'm not sure if I can. Let me see. I'm gonna when we get towards the end, you guys, I'll try to pull up the BOA database so you guys can kind of see it, because I think I can and just drag it down to that screen, but I don't want to like mess anything up for anyone. But I think we can do that, and so we'll see. We'll see if we can't pull that up. Actually, we're going to go back and do it. We're going to grab it. Copy link. We'll go back to our screen because I think I can. I am kind of that I'll figure it out kind of gal. Okay, yeah, perfect. We can. Here you go, guys. We have a few minutes, so I'm gonna do a couple of things. So we're gonna just use the BOA one first. You can select by a specific foundation name. If you know of one, like maybe Merck Pharmaceuticals, or I don't know, just making stuff up, you guys. You can search by that. Here's the part that one of the reasons I love the BOA. You can search by program type. So if you are, if you're in the health industry, you can search in that. We can search by all. You can search by, if you're looking for, maybe you're in youth development, or, maybe you have a ministry that you're working on. You can search this database. And like I said, the areas served is so cool because we can do by all, which is great. I'm gonna just do Missouri so that we can kind of narrow it down a little bit for you guys for this purpose. But here's what it looks like. You see these, it tells you that any proposal due dates, we have that column, and it tells you the program type. If there are any restrictions, it's going to say so. But it is so literally everything they have that anybody who's approved it is in here. Look at this. If you're doing medical research for, I don't know, it's in here. If we're trying, if your program, let's see, I'm going to find one in Kansas City. So maybe your program is, we'll go back to the drama classes for kids in Kansas City. This is a great one. This would be a great, as you're glancing, and it's July 31st. It's serving the greater Kansas City area. And when we click on it, it's going to give us more information about that specific funder and kind of their mission. I love this, you guys. For two reasons. I love that we can print it, and I do. I do print it because I like to prepare everything ahead of time. But what it shares with us is kind of what the purpose, why they started their trust, what their mission is. You will find that a lot of times that mission is going to align with what we're trying to accomplish, right? This is so nice, you guys. This is so cool because, it allows us to have another layer to connect as we go through that application process. And you'll see here, you can literally apply right here. If you want to, there are any of their procedures for any of it, you can download that, but you can literally apply right here. I just think that's so powerful to have that at our fingertips and to be able to utilize that. I'll tell you, definitely keep looking. I know that some days I get so frustrated when I have to ask Google 7 different ways of the same question. But that's exactly what you want to do as you're searching for these grants. You want to rephrase your search. Keep looking. Don't just look today and then not come back to it for 6 months or a year. No, don't. Set time aside. I set time aside at least every other week. That may be a little bit excessive for most of you. The reason I do that, though, is because I serve so many clients. I want to make sure that I stay current on what's available. Keep looking. Stay at it. I don't care if you devote an hour a month at first, stay at it because you'll see something pop up and you're like, oh my gosh, this wasn't here last month. Oh my gosh, this is perfect. This would be such a great resource for us. We could do so much with this $10,000 or whatever. Keep looking. The reason you'll hear me say that, listen, grants are free money. No, if we don't go after that money, we don't get it, right? But when have you ever been given $10,000 and been told, here, do something great with us. Here's 10 grand. I want you to grow your business. Here's 10 grand. I want you to start a new line of revenue for your business. You don't get that. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. So I want you to stay on it. I say I want from you guys a lot. Sorry. But I want you to stay on it. And I put this in here because I want to change that mindset of, well, I'm not a nonprofit. Well, do I really need the funds? Yes, you do. If you have a goal, right? You're trying to get to your goal. Let's get there. These funds are available. If they don't get used, they just sit there. And I've seen a couple of foundations that they had it slotted to be used up, in like a 20-year time period or whatever, and it was still sitting there at the end of it because nobody was using it. Nobody was asking for it. It doesn't make you greedy or any of that. You have a goal to accomplish. You went into business to serve someone, so let's go after that. Let's go after that money that's out there available. These organizations set money aside because, again, they started off small. These foundations set money aside because they want to help small business. So you are a small business. Let's go after that help. Let's go after that and utilize that. Let's take over the world together. Let's go see what we can leverage with that. I can't help but think that. So the article I wrote before all the COVID stuff, just about the normal ebb and flow of business and how recession is eventually going to come. It's just, it's what happens in business. And the importance of doing exactly what we're talking about right now and getting these opportunities available, leveraging them. If you can leverage these opportunities, if you're somebody who needs a new building, wants a brick and mortar, if you position yourself then as people are in need because, maybe their business is slow. You've got maybe the construction guys are slow and they need work. You need the work done. If you've positioned yourself well, you can get there, their work at a discount, right? Because they need the work. They want to keep the doors open, and you are going to serve more people and make your reach bigger by paying less. So it's just about leveraging these opportunities. Again, doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you good at business, truthfully. But it's the same principle. And, I really want to make sure that we can work together and provide the resources for all of you so that as these opportunities come up, you're ready to jump on them. If it's operational funds, let's use them operationally, but then build up your reserves in the bank. So then you can, the next thing that comes along that you really want to be a part of is right there and ready to go. That's what's so important. And we kind of break that. Then with these opportunities, we can break that mindset of just enough in our bank accounts too, which that's a whole nother. You don't want me to go on financial literacy and on accounting, or you'll be here all day. But it's out there. I know I say it all the time, but it is out there. It's amazing when you just go to search what you see. I'll pull that screen back up. If I go in, I'm just going to go up top and search grants for female veteran business owners. There's SBA has grants. Cabbage has grant resources available. You'll find articles like this. I do like NerdWallet. You can use them quite a bit. I love NerdWallet. I find a lot of really good stuff on there. But NAV is obviously good. You will see, it's so funny because there's government grants out there. You're going to see so much just by going through, typing what appears to be a very simple sentence, right? And look at this one. And this is by business.org, which is another reputable resource, of course. But, veteran business loans and grants in 2020. It's just all how we ask it. We just have to ask, right? We have to phrase the questions because the resources are there. You asking your Google or doing your research connects you to the resources. That money's set aside for someone. Why not you? Why? I know, you guys, I'm on my whole soapbox again. So don't be afraid to search it. Don't, if you get stuck and you're like, man, I'm just not getting, I keep asking, I'm not getting anything, bounce it off one of us. We have, again, there's so many resources at the library. Bounce it off somebody. That's what we're here for. Does anybody have any questions? All right, I'm going to go to the reminders. So I put a couple of reminders on here. Look at this, guys. We can pair up with a pro. We do have 60-minute sessions with service professionals through the Casey Source link. Please check it out. Oh my gosh, there's so many great resources. I love Casey Source link. Definitely check it out. Some of the reminders that I know you're like, why are you telling me this? But use those funds when you get grants. Use them for what your intended purpose was. Use them for what you applied for. That is so important. It's important because it's the honest and right thing to do, but it's important because it builds that connection. That's so important. You've heard me say it before. Track them. Track those funds you get. Track that progress, what you've accomplished with it. We want that later when we send that final thank you to be able to open the door for more opportunities. Sometimes we have to create our own opportunities, and this is a really good way to do that. Check for the grants regularly, not wait till you're in a bind and like, oh gosh, check. You heard me say it once a month, check. It's so important. I can't say that one enough. And then we'll talk about my favorite one. Before I do though, you guys, we do have those opportunities, those 60-minute sessions. It could be a coach, it could be an accountant, a designer, whatever your needs are. Check it out at the KC Source link in the comments. There's so many cool professionals in this group that are available to help you. Please, please, please check it out. It's amazing what's out there. So now we're going to go back to that last point. Think bigger. I say that, and it's so funny because I say it all the time to people, but I say it in this context because, okay, you need a grant for $10,000 because you want to do a remodel. Think bigger. You may need a grant for 10,000, but let's plan for about 20 or 30. Bigger, because chances are you're not going to get them all. That's reality. Chances are, if you got them all, you would just do more great things. So think bigger. How can you do more? How can you serve more people, more customers, more clients? I cannot stress it enough to think bigger. You guys have heard me talk about some of the books that I read and stuff, and I am a big fan of okay, you want to increase your revenue 30% by adding a new product. Let's increase it 300%. Let's increase it, 100 times over. Think bigger. Don't limit yourself by realistic and practical. I want you to think bigger. When you set that target bigger and you're like, I'm going to, I'm going to raise $50,000 because I want to do this remodel for the business, for the Raytown Chamber. When you think bigger, that target's there. And so you're going to fight for that target more. Not to sound like a business coach, because I'm not, but just think bigger. The other thing about that is when you go for these grant funding and these foundational fundings and you give them the big, their buy-in is better. They know that you're not solely relying on their funds, but B, it's a bigger purpose. It's not, hey, I'm going to be $5,000 short this month. Can I have $5,000? It's, hey, can I have $50,000 because I'm going to remodel this building in order to serve this many people and provide, increase space so I can increase the number of people I've served from last year. That bigger, it's that picture that we talk about and that telling the story, but think bigger. That'll do a lot in many aspects of your business. Again, not a business coach, so I'm not going to go down that trail. But when you think bigger and you present that picture, by thinking bigger, that picture's bigger. By that bigger picture, it's a bigger story. It's more robust. All of that, then you've got a better connection with your funder, if that makes sense. It snowballs. You guys may be like, she has drank the Kool-Aid today. No, it's coffee, but it does snowball, and it is the most incredible and powerful thing that I've seen. It really is. I'm just think bigger, you guys. I don't want you to be afraid to go after the money. I don't want you to be afraid to think bigger. If you're like, holy cow, what? Message me. I will be your biggest cheerleader. That it will change things. One of the gals I met through here, whom I adore, Kim, the very first time I was here doing this with you guys, she was like, oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. That woman was applying for stuff like crazy, and it was incredible to watch. And you know what? She got so much traction and got so much funds coming in. She's like, oh, we got this. Oh, I got this today. That's what I'm talking about. I have a client that I've literally gone through all of these steps that I shared with you guys today with one of my clients. And no exaggeration. And I want you to know, she has pinged me every week. She's shot me an email for the last 4 weeks that she's gotten another grant. And she's like, hey, this one came in today. Hey, this one, let's talk about timeline. Hey, this came in. 4 weeks in a row, she's gotten grant funds, you guys. 4 weeks. The smallest one was $5,000. That's huge. But we put together a plan, a very big plan that we thought, okay, let's do this. This sounds great. Let's plan this. And got after it. And we have not applied for, I put her in those resources and she's done a handful. I'd say she's applied for probably 7, maybe 8. But they keep hitting. They keep hitting because she told a good story. She was clear with her story. And it's big. It's got that buy-in, right? That's what matters. That's what's important. And it just makes my heart happy when I see an email from her and she's like, amazing, this happened. Yes, it did happen. So it can happen for you guys too. So please, if you need a cheerleader, let us know. As always, you guys, I can't believe it's already 11. Oh my gosh. All right, we couldn't do it without our grant funding. And so again, fill out the survey at the end. If there's something you guys want to see next week, let me know. Obviously I kind of have an agenda set up, but if there's something that you guys are like, you know what, can we go back to this? Or this would be really fun, juicy nugget to talk about with these grants or whatever, put it on there. It's so, so, so important. For real, you guys. You gotta email Morgan for the links. It's such good information. Do it. Tracy, I'm so excited for you. You just made my whole day. Tracy said, you guys, she's excited to start searching for the grants. Perfect. Thank you, Morgan. That she didn't think her business could get a grant. Oh, yes, you can. And in the space you're in, holy cannolis. Yes, please, please, please email Morgan. If you have questions, jump in on one of those sessions. You and I can kind of like spitball and strategize. But there's so many opportunities out there for you. You just made my whole day. Please get those slides. That BOA is going to be a really big powerhouse for you. So is Wells Fargo. And I would definitely check out Chase too. But definitely the BOA and Wells Fargo for you. That's going to be huge. You guys, thank you again. Vicki, I can't wait for you to put it to use too. Keep me posted, you guys. We should do sometime we should do just like an update of, hey, here's what I got. Here's what we did. That'd be really fun. All of you have an amazing weekend. I hope you get to enjoy the long weekend. And if you need anything, reach out. It is always a pleasure and honor to get to be here on Saturdays for Stephanie Saturdays, you guys. You're amazing. Let's talk soon. Bye.